As we ready? Mayor Cantrell,
Present.
Councilmember King, Director Pacho,
Here.
Director Duplessis,
Present.
Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Cole,
Here.
Director Howard,
Here.
Director Antrim,
Here.
Director Thomas,
Present.
Director Scruggs.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Yolanda. And so what we will start with, I would say, is adopting the minutes from our last board meeting. So we need a motion to approve.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Howard,
Second.
seconded by Director Duplessis. Thank you, Ada. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so hearing none, we've officially adopted the minutes. So Ms. Yolanda, we'll go to committee reports.
Yes, and the first person is Finance Committee Chair, Director Howard.
All right, the Finance Committee met, here I am, on November 12th. The meeting convened at 9 a.m. Presence were Director Howard, Pacho, Kennedy, Scruggs, Director Antrep, a non-member, was also present. Ray Lewis, the Chief Financial Officer, shared the utilities implementation of a new financial management system is nearing completion. And then he also turned to the financial overview. Revenues less adjusted expenses left the utility with $5.5 million for debt service and limited capital improvements. I'll go back to that in a minute. And so 98% of the bills issued reflected an actual meter reading, which shows continual improvement in that area, and approximately 3,600 bills lacked a reading due to access issues or inability to read a mechanical meter. The committee noted that the utility may need to explore a legislative exception if a meter is not accessible based on circumstances outside the utility's control. And staff noticed that a process is being developed to address these issues. Billing disputes, Susanna Kirby, the Chief Customer Service Officer, provided an update on collections and the impacts of credits given by HGI. And then she also shared an update on payment plans. The enrollment rate for Promise Pay at the end of September included 64% of past due customers, with a goal to raise participation to 90% over the next several quarters. Cash on hand was 95 days for the water system and 112 for the sewer. The requirement for both systems is a minimum of 90 days, so action plans are being developed in preparation for year-end, and additional information is being evaluated to determine the potential deferral of expenses. Mr. Lewis noted the utility does not have debt capacity to issue new bonds. Keith James, the Manager of Customer Services, provided an update on September metrics. And then Mr. Lewis presented information on the city demand letter relating to receivables. There were three categories of demand: Max Pave 218, various bond projects, and the Joint Infrastructure Recovery Roads Program. Regarding the Max Pave 2018, Mr. Lewis proposed a repayment plan for $2.8 million, which is set to be repaid in 8 installments over the next 4 years. Reimbursements related to the various bond projects are in the process of being reconciled with the goal of completion by the end of the year. Costs associated with JIRR need to be reconciled and cost-sharing elements of the program evaluated, particularly those regarding city paving expenses that have been funded by Sewage and Water Board to meet consent decree deadlines. Management is collaborating with the city to address and document these issues in a new reimbursement CEA, which will support the continued operation of JIRR. Then we had the contract award renewals R-152-2025, R-153-2025, R-154-2025, and R-155-2025. Director Scruggs moved to accept these, and Director Pacho seconded. The motion carried. Contract change orders were R-138-25, R-145-2025, R-157-2025, R-158-2025. Let's just say 158 through 164, 2025, rather than name them all. I would like to, I don't know how to do this exactly, but I think there's a paragraph that needs to be added to the minutes noting that respect to Resolution R-145, 2025, which was a significant change order, that the staff gave a presentation on both the financial, the technical, and the legal support for that, and also provided supporting documentation.
So we would make a motion to amend the report as presented, and then we will ask for a motion to approve as amended.
Okay.
That's how we'll move through that. Did that complete your report? You did mention on the front end that you wanted to go back to some.
That was what I would go back
Okay.
to. Final accept, well, there's one more, those resolutions were, Director Kennedy moved to accept contract change orders by ratification. Director Scruggs seconded and the motion carried. And then on final acceptance, there was resolution R-156. Director Scruggs moved to accept. Director Pacho seconded and the motion carried. Information items were received. There is no public comment, and there being no further business, the meeting was adjourned at 10:01.
Very good. Now, it is my understanding that notices have gone out to those homeowners relative to their meters, if they're inaccessible and the like. I know that that's been happening. I've seen several of those, but just wanting to put that on the record. In addition to that, 64% of customers with past due amounts that they recognize as past due, signed up. That is a huge win, and it demonstrates progress relative to our customers, the people who we are serving. So, that's very important, sometimes left out, but people are responding to what the measures that we put in place to help them mitigate, the large bills that they have owned, meaning they recognize past due amounts and they've made arrangements to make themselves and the utility whole, again, which is huge. So with that, I need a motion to approve, to amend, one motion, first to amend the report as presented.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
And we have a second. Now, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so now I need a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Scruggs, seconded by Director Thomas. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, we have officially adopted the report, finance report, as amended. And Ms. Yolanda.
And now we have the Governance Committee Chair report by the Chair, Director Kennedy.
Thank you. Good morning. The Governance Committee met on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 in the boardroom. The meeting convened at approximately 10:09 a.m. Present were myself, Directors Howard, Cole, and Scruggs, absent Director Thomas. After a motion was moved by Director Howard, seconded by Director Scruggs, we went into executive session. Executive session ended after I presented the motions moved by Director Cole, seconded by Director Scruggs. There was no public comment, and being no further business for the Governance Committee, made a motion to adjourn, and Director Scruggs moved, Director Howard seconded, the motion carried. Meeting was adjourned at approximately 10:50 a.m.
Okay, thank you very much. We need a motion to approve the Governance Committee report as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved by Director Pacho. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Director Cole. Any questions?
I want to make sure to note that I was present at the meeting.
You absolutely were. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Okay. Director Anthrop identified definitely present at the Governance Committee.
And it was noted on the record at that time as well.
It's there. So we have a motion. We have a second. Any questions? Just had clarification. If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, hearing none, we have officially adopted the Governance Committee, and we'll move forward. Ms. Yolanda?
Yes, now we have the Strategy Report by Director Anthrop, Chair.
Yes, good morning. The Strategic Planning Committee met on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, here in the Executive Boardroom. The meeting convened at 10:54 a.m. Present were myself, Director Howard, Cole, and Scruggs. Director Thomas was absent. We had a presentation item, a fantastic presentation from Dr. Angela Chalk from Healthy Community Services here in New Orleans, as well as our own Grace Vogel-Sanders from this Environmental Affairs Department. They presented to us on tree planting and training for our utility workers. Ms. Sanders and Dr. Chalk provided an overview of tree planting and training for those utility workers. The presentation began with a video that highlighted the relationship and trust between Sewage and Water Board and Healthy Community Services that was produced by a funder that has funded both of our organizations. Dr. Chalk and Ms. Sanders explained that a multi-agency discussion took place early this year after an incident involving some maintenance crews removing some trees that had been planted by the community partner on Sewage and Water Board owned land. And so with participation of a number of different partners, the discussion included a path forward, focusing on training and educating Sewage and Water Board employees on tree planting and protection, the development of new policies, low maintenance solutions, and a PSA campaign to help employers better serve our community. We, of course, were appreciative of Dr. Chalk's efforts with the initiative and look forward to continuing to work with her as a partner. For discussion items, we discussed House Resolution 305, the Task Force on Southeast Louisiana Regional Water Purification Operations. Mr. Nelson, General Superintendent, gave an update on the recent task force meetings. Representatives from the surrounding 5 parishes, so St. Bernard, St. Charles, Orleans, Jefferson, and Plaquemines, have been participating in the meetings. Each parish utility, including Sewage and Water Board, has shared our challenges with the group, with aging infrastructure being a primary point of concern. While the initial focus of the task force was obviously on the development of a regional water purification facility, the idea has become clear that it doesn't necessarily address the underlying issue of aging infrastructure and comes with significant costs. Mr. Nelson shared that following a series of pragmatic discussions, the task force has expressed interest in exploring ways to address saltwater intrusion, with plans to meet with the Army Corps of Engineers to review their saltwater intrusion initiatives. In addition, potentially expanding interties between the parishes is also being considered by the task force so they can support one another during events. SWPNO currently has an intertie with Plaquemines Parish, which we have utilized several times through the last 2 years, and so continuing to explore that possibility. Mr. Nelson plans to attend the remaining task force meetings until March and will continue to report out on its findings. Finally, we discussed a work plan for the Strategic Planning Committee. I proposed several items to consider over the next year, primarily a maintenance plan for the minor drainage system, and also looking at an update to our strategic plan. Our current 5-year strategic plan expires in 2027, and so we noted that it's important that we have a new one in place before the current one expires, and that the board needs to determine whether we want to completely write a whole new plan or whether we want to just sort of update the one that we have currently in place, but that now, under the leadership of our new executive director, obviously this is an ideal time to initiate our discussions and start to figure out exactly what we want to do with that. And the next annual check-in and planning workshop for staff is scheduled for January of 2026. And then last on the agenda, we discussed the minor drainage system maintenance plan. This was really just a discussion to understand the committee's desires and discuss with staff potential scope for this effort. We discussed how developing a maintenance plan for the minor drainage system should be a priority, and it should be closely tied to the development of a future stormwater fee proposal. We noted that it was important for us to adequately determine those maintenance needs of the drainage system and the associated costs. And that when it comes to funding, it's obviously important that we're extremely transparent, and staff needs to clearly outline how the funds will be used and what those positive expected outcomes are so we can report out on those to our customers. Since we acquired the minor drainage system in January, obviously we have a much better understanding of the financial, capital, equipment, and personnel requirements associated with maintaining that system. And so we'll look forward in January to understanding, what has been the maintenance so far, and looking forward, what are the plans for potentially outsourcing work versus managing it in-house and what those look like. So we will, the staff are planning to present to the committee in January, as this will be the 1-year mark of the drainage system consolidation, and we'll focus on funding for the minor drainage system, maintenance progress made in 2025, and the development of priorities with committee input for 2026. We did have one public comment from Mr. Jesse Perkins, who wanted to discuss the impact of trees on the water system. And then finally, there being no further business to come before the Strategic Planning Committee, I don't think I made the motion to adjourn. Director Cole made a motion to adjourn. Director Scruggs seconded. The motion carried, and the meeting was adjourned at approximately 11:58 a.m.
Thank you very much. A very productive meeting indeed. I think focusing on that strategic planning coming up in 2027, not only very important, but timely as well with the progress made, with the priorities in place. But then again, just in terms of board transition administration, it's the perfect timing for that. I think highlighting aging infrastructure with significant costs, which speak to, one, the need, but also it's just a good opportunity to thank the public for passing the bond measure, understanding that it really has been a but-for over the past several years and will be that moving forward. So again, helps us address what our needs are, but also the public understands, I would say, with that vote and understanding the purpose, the urgency, and the need, therefore, transparency. Dr. Chalk and their work, that's just invaluable. And of course, understanding how trees do have an impact. And sometimes, in our landscape, it's kind of worked against us long-term, but we need the trees. And so in terms of worked against, I mean, getting into drain lines and the like, however, absorbing the water. But then when you think about subsidence and all those things, it really does impact our environment across the board. But things are moving forward. In addition to that, I would ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Director Thomas.
Second.
Seconded by Director Kennedy. Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, very good. So what we'll do now, we'll move into, the committee report has been approved, officially adopted. We'll move into the executive director's report. I know who will touch very heavily on JIRR relative to the partnership with the City of New Orleans. And we have completed and in process over 100 JIRR projects. And I'll turn it over to you, Director Heyman, and then just kind of plug and play as you move through.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good morning, Madam Mayor, Board, and staff. First off, I want to talk about we have to bring it up.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, first slide. Okay. First, I want to talk about the power complex. The board is proud to have made major strides in developing a more reliable drainage power with the creation of the power complex. We have come a long way. In 2020, the project site used to be an abandoned water basin. Now we have made better use of that existing space by creating a hub of modern power equipment. Since breaking ground in late 2021, we've worked with Energy to complete a dedicated substation. We've installed 3 frequency changers, which will convert the modern Energy electricity into the older kind of electricity our legacy pumps require. We've installed a new turbine, Turbine 7, as a backup power source, and we've completed a utility rack, which comprises of large wires to transmit power from the power complex to our current equipment. With all of this infrastructure now in place, we are systematically testing everything and carefully reviewing its performance in order to bring this equipment online in an official capacity. We are grateful to all the partners who have helped us come this far with this very important project. And I'll note that on December 16th, we will have the power complex ribbon cutting.
Absolutely, and this is just another example of how we have been able to use and leverage bond dollars, and why it was so critical to get the public to agree this go round, because if not, we would have had to wait until 2027, and therefore realizing that sale right at 2028, that's time missed, and we don't have any time to waste. So thank you to all of our partners, but again, the community for understanding this is a game changer. And I believe that the public don't fully understand how much this is and will be a game changer, but in due time, they will have a better understanding relative to the need for power, the need for mitigating low pressure, and boil water advisories, and the like, but step in the right direction. Good job.
And I'll stress that one thing that a utility needs is reliable power. it is critical. It's not seen, it's not talked about, but it is critical for us to protect the health and safety of our community. I want to add, too, that we've revised the schedule for static frequency changers 2 and 3. We're systematically testing the static frequency changes as this is a critical project. We want to ensure all components are properly brought online. We'll begin the testing and commissioning of the second immediately upon the completion of SFC1's 30-day reliability test. SFC2 and SFC3, those are static frequency changers, will be available for use November 25th, 2025, I mean to say, and January 2026. T7 is anticipated to begin in December, and we're waiting on contractors' personnel to provide us with a revised schedule. As noted earlier in the meeting, at SWBNO, we care about the environment, and tree planting and training is a big part of what we think we need to be good partners with the city and with the environment. Building trust between water utilities and community organizations, we have initiative has begun by Dr. Chalk and Director Tyler Antrup. Grant was funded by River Network. The grant resulted in trash blooms in the Florida Avenue Canal and tree planting along the canal in 2022. Also established a direct relationship between SWBNO and Dr. Chalk. Basically, a green infrastructure PSA campaign is in development. A prescribed burn and prairie planting area along Florida Avenue Canal will be moving forward, and we'll have replanting of trees, which are now in a design phase. The Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans recently updated our water service line inventory, which is an annual requirement mandated by the EPA's lead and copper rule revisions. All customers were notified via letter of their water line materials, which include one of the following: lead, galvanized steel, unknown, meaning SWBNO does not have a record of the water line material. Customers with verified non-lead water lines did not receive a notification. We used existing plumbing records to inform them of the service line materials listed in the customer notifications, including unknowns. However, the inventory map available on our website includes predictive modeling to make educated guesses for unknown service line materials. Assumed lead means there is an 80% plus chance, high likelihood the service line is made of lead. Assumed non-lead means there is a 20% chance or less, a low likelihood, that the service line is lead. Again, these are educated guesses based on available data. Both categories are still considered unknown. Customers who receive a notification do not need to take immediate action to replace their water line. However, there are actions they can take to protect their health. Next slide. When water hasn't been used for 6 hours or longer, run the faucet for 3 to 5 minutes to flush the line before drinking or cooking with the water. Household tasks like showering or running the dishwater can also help flush the system. Use only cold water for drinking, cooking, and making baby formula. Use a filter that meets NSF Standard 53, has a recommended practice to help protect you and your family. Request a free picture online at swbno.org/project/lead awareness and pick up the SWBNO customer service, and they can be picked up at the customer service center if eligible. Request a lead test kit online at swbno.org/projects/lead awareness or by calling 52 Water. If you have a lead service line on your property, replace it. SWBNO can coordinate to replace the public side of the line at the same time. Now I'll go on to the city reimbursement status. SWBNO has been a proud partner of the Department of Public Works since 2019 on major infrastructure projects, including the Joint Infrastructure Recovery Road Project, Max Pave, and other bond projects. This is a critical collaboration effort to improve the quality of life in New Orleans. We have delivered $235 million towards projects with DPW since the partnership began. As of today, we've paid $4.7 million of the $87 million currently owed to the city. By the end of November, we will have paid an additional $7 million. Another $8 million will be processed by the end of December. So, of the $87.5 million owed to the city, Swimno has paid nearly $20 million, more than 20% by the end of the year.
And this is very important because coming in as mayor and having to move these joint infrastructure projects forward and less than 1% of them were started, and understanding that there was a financial gap, I would say, on the Sewage and Water Board side. But joint infrastructure, we wanted to get these projects going. And so I made sure that in the spirit of one partnership, that Sewage and Water Board is a part of the city of New Orleans, and in order to move projects, then we ensure that the resources were there so that we can do the work. Setting up agreements, again, so that Sewage and Water Board, as city, would be reimbursed in terms of flowing and working with the state to have a line of funding that we could use, a revolver, if you will. It really facilitated the movement of these projects. And so now, and as described, is the repayment of that, and that is over time. The goal is to complete the work, get it done, because the city cannot live or thrive without it. So it's not the utility looking at it in separation from the city, in partnership and in collaboration to make sure that we do this joint infrastructure work. Now, over 100 nearing completed, and the portfolio is just, we've made significant progress. So thank you for outlining this. More will continue to come to the board with a clear understanding relative to the repayment structure, but there are CEA agreements, but wanting to codify this particularly not only for the board, for the public, and for all partners, if you will, just full transparency.
Absolutely. And in that vein, I'll add some additional information. The city of New Orleans and Swibno have been a great partner. Of the $87.5 million, a bulk of it is under review or reconciliation, since both DPW and Swibno reimburse each other for various projects, as the mayor noted. Much of the rest does not have a funding source at this time because we are waiting for grant reimbursements from our state and federal partners, which are impacted by the government shutdown. This was understood and agreed to by the city and Swibno at the beginning of the contractual relationship. 74% or $65 million of what we owe currently is from the Joint Infrastructure Program. The JIR program involves us replacing both water and sewer lines in a project area, and the city comes to pave over the area once. And that working together saves money that we don't tear up the ground twice and have to repave twice. Water, according to the CEA with the city agreed to cover water-related costs until grant funding became available to Swibno. Therefore, these payments did not have a deadline associated with them, and we are seeking the grant funding. Under sewer, Swibno has the funds to cover the sewer work via WIFIA funds that were awarded back in 2022. However, we are still waiting for some of those funds to come through from GOSEP and FEMA. We continue to push for reimbursement and payments as fast as possible, and will continue to do so to support our partners in the city. I think it's also important to note that we have and will continue to work within the terms of the prescribed CEA or contract.
Absolutely, and the important thing here to note is that the federal funding, these things are reimbursement, cost reimbursement. So it means you have to do the work, submit, go through that process to then be reimbursed. And so the partnership, not only with the city, but also the state in terms of GOSEP, and creating that revolver that allows the city, Swibno, to do the work, submit for reimbursement, and go through the process, which is complicated, sometimes oversimplified, but there's so many different moving parts, and we're moving through that process, and at the end of the day, getting the work done, which is why this is so critically, it's just important.
Okay. And that's the end of my report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? I saw you make a move.
No.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Okay.
With regard to reimbursement from GOSEP and FEMA, I've done a whole lot of GOSEP and FEMA work in my personal business. And it's not a matter of days or even weeks. It's months and sometimes years. And it's just a very overcomplicated process, and there's just not a lot you can do about it.
Right, but it's really, it's gratifying, and I know that I'm extremely grateful to the overall partnerships, and particularly with GOSEP in terms of creating that revolver. Because again, it's all coming, everybody's being reimbursed, but it's a process. And when you get the actual money in the bank, but the reimbursement piece, it just puts the focus on, one, the city and the utility to front. So that's that front, it's so vitally important and critical. So thank you very much for your report. And you will continue to get the updates relative to these reimbursements, I would say, more on a routine basis, if you will, because a lot of attention has been focused there, but not with adequate understanding, I would say, in terms of how it's being reported and even respected and appreciated and valued based on how we've been able to move the needle and get the job done. So with that, Ms. Yolanda.
Yes, and now we have our first action item, and that's a declaration of vacancy on the Board of Directors for Council District B. That's Director Howard's position. And so that declaration of vacancy will be done today, and we'll advertise for District B over the next 30 days, twice in the Advocate and other media. And so just wanted to get that action item done. And I'll need a motion to approve Resolution R-174, 2025.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Yolanda. And I think that this is just a perfect opportunity to just thank you, Director Howard. Came at a very critical time when real and tough decisions were needed, and with the level of awareness and understanding and credibility, I would say, that you've brought to the utility, and thank you for that. It is my understanding that you will be serving until your replacement?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't want to be here as long as Tamika.
Well, listen, hopefully not. Hopefully not. The goal here is, we are going to initiate the process. We know that even with District E, that was kicked back, waiting for that to move forward by the council, kicked back. And so that will be completed, I would say, by December, and then moving towards the new administration. Hopefully, they'll have governmental affairs meetings timely, and which triggers when, when these replacements happen. But it's moving. So we need a motion to ensure that this happens. Okay, it's been moved by Director Anthrop, it's seconded by Director Cole. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you for your kind words.
Absolutely. Can't make it up. Not for me, I will not. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? All right, so the motion carries. Ms. Yolanda?
And now we have corresponding resolutions that we can take in global, Mayor.
Okay.
And those are resolutions R-152, 2025, Resolution 153, 2025, 154, 2025, 155, 2025, 138, 2025, 145, 2025, 157, 2025, 158, 2025, 159, 2025, 160, 2025, 161, 2025, 162, 2025, 163, 2025, 164, 2025, and 156, 2025.
So we need a motion to approve the corresponding resolutions as presented by Ms. Yolanda, and we can do them in global.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Director Kennedy.
Second.
It's been seconded by Director Scruggs. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, so we have officially adopted all corresponding resolutions. Ms. Yolanda?
We have information items for the board's perusal, and then we also have a public comment from Angela Kinlaw, a community member. Ms. Kinlaw?
Very good. Ms. Kinlaw? Okay. I couldn't see her. Good morning.
Everyone. I wrote this comment so that I could stay within the time frame respectfully. So now that the voters approved Proposition 3 as a part of the $510 million bonds, that we're going to provide $50 million to improve drainage and stormwater systems, a step aimed at reducing flood risk across the city. We, as members of the public, want to ensure that the Sewage and Water Board drainage system is fully funded for efficient drainage, meaning all parts of the system, including but not only limited to catch basins, the lateral lines, and all associated pipes, all aspects of the infrastructure through Lake Pontchartrain. This feels very important right now, though we are talking about the value of green infrastructure projects, which we support. They are good and necessary. We just want to make sure that the entire $50 million is not only going to go toward the City of New Orleans Resilience and Sustainability Office, even if it is in collaboration with the Sewage and Water Board. It feels important that we honor both. Green infrastructure projects are important, but so are the infrastructure components that make up the system for the Sewage and Water Board as we know it. When voters went to the booth to vote, 9 times out of 10, they're thinking about the Sewage and Water Board system that they know up until this day. And it's very important now that that drainage system has been transferred back from the Department of Public Works to the Sewage and Water Board in 2025. I stand here still in 2025 advocating that it be important that part of that $50 million go toward fully funding the drainage system. This must go beyond and in addition to the $7 to $10 million that we know comes from the much needed fair share hotel and motel tax that we know Mayor LaToya Cantrell fought very hard for. Despite the fact that the drainage system needs a multi-billion-dollar overhaul and attention, the City of New Orleans can easily add another at least $15 million plus for fully funding the drainage system in 2026 and beyond. I'm simply here to express a deep and serious concern. So before the bond money can be allocated on various projects and spent, we want to make sure that it goes beyond, in addition to green infrastructure. We want the money to be allocated now to hire and pay more local workers at a living wage outside of a third-party contract to do this work locally on behalf of the Sewage and Water Board drainage system with functioning equipment, newly purchased if needed, by way of a dedicated team, again, specifically for drainage, for a much-needed efficient drainage system. There's no better time than now to do this, and we know that this body here has the capacity to support that to be the case. And I thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. I think a loaded word is fully funded. 50 million is not going to fully fund, which I do understand that there's an understanding there, but there are still extreme gaps relative to the funding or costs associated with the fully funded drainage system, which also speaks to a stormwater management fee of some sort. But definitely projects will go definitely beyond green infrastructure. We'll stick to, no doubt, in terms of drain lines, sewer lines, and the like, but all encompassing. But those projects will be identified and in partnership, I would say, with the residents of the City of New Orleans. The expectation to move towards selling bonds hopefully will be towards the second, close to the third quarter of 2026, realizing those dollars in 2026, but further advancing this work really in 2027. But again, Ms. Kinlaw's comments were spot on, and we're committed. Anything else, Ms. Yolanda?
We are ready for adjournment.
Okay, and so just prior to adjournment, I did want to give a little shout out to most recent groundbreaking at Willie Hall Playground in District D, which is going to be a game changer relative to holding water, millions of gallons of water. And this is an area, as one of the residents spoke, saying that flooded when they were a child routinely, and they're my age. 53. So, I mean, it's just a testament that we didn't just get here overnight. We understand the existing conditions, but the work is happening to mitigate for the future of the city, and at the end of the day, for the residents of the city of New Orleans. We have more than 128,000 meters now installed, and we've cleaned over 317 linear feet in terms of drain lines. So that work continues to move forward, and nearly 7,400 catch basins. So again, continuing throughout the year, but moving towards 2026. So with that, any additional comments? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. It's been moved by Director Duplessis, seconded by Director Howard. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, meeting adjourned. Then thank you to our hardworking city employees. Can't do anything without our sewage and water board staff. Bless you.
Thank you.